three grandkids.
Sorry about that.
No,
My
you're
mistake.
fine. I have three boys, three grandkids. I've been married for 24 and a half years. We're really excited about getting to 25. So, yeah, and I get the privilege of working with Gary directly, and Abe Shreve is my partner. So I don't know. I've done it all. I've had small teams, big teams, no teams, more failures than wins. And if any, I can't see everybody, but if anybody's on my Facebook, Tony said it best yesterday. He's like, it looks like you're living your best life. I live my best life. So every day I live my best life. So
I love that.
yeah.
Can I pop back to your real estate team for a second?
Yeah.
Okay, you said that you're very successful. What I heard you say was you're database driven. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so we are highly database driven. 94% of our business comes from referrals and SOI.
Wow.
We do have a budget, and really it's a line item for Zillow and Realtor.com, specifically only so that our reviews show up in the top and that our algorithms are working properly, but we don't buy leads. We are heavily based around client events. Last night we did a client event. We did a back to school snow cones and school supplies event. Super easy event. We invited probably 1,000 people. Now, mind you, 1,000 people thought they are getting to come to an event, but like less than 100 even come. But they all think like, oh my gosh, Charlotte and her team are amazing. I get snow cones. I have a fall festival. I have this, I have that. And even though they don't take advantage of it, they see it on social media. They feel like they were a part of it. That event is pretty cool because what we do is we get a snow cone truck. We bring it to our office. We send out an Evite. We do social media messaging. We do texting. We invite our databases are categorized A plus A, B, C, and D.
Okay.
I can share that with you guys if that's not something that's familiar to you, but we invite our A plus A's and B's. The B's are the ones we're trying to turn into A's. And we tell them they can have free snow cones if they just show up and bring a school supply for our charity. So we get publicity for our charity, publicity for our team, great photo ops. And the snow cone truck for 200 snow cones is $600, and our lender and title pay for it. So we do that kind of thing probably 5 or 6 times a year, and really just focus all of our energy on our database.
Okay. Wow. So 94% of your business.
Yep.
Wow. That's amazing. Let's go back a few years. And I've heard you and I've had the pleasure of hearing you just share this story a little bit. In 08, 09, you felt the full brunt of the crash.
Yeah.
And from that, what would you say was maybe the hardest, and what was the biggest takeaway that you learned from that?
So for those of you guys that were in the business back then, and for those of you that weren't, I can just tell you it was a terrible, dark season. I actually was a partner in the #1 real estate team in the world in 2005 and 6. My business partner, Pat Hyben, and I came to Keller Williams in 2005, and we came as the #1 team in the world. 2006, stayed the #1 team in the world, but shifted to foreclosures. And then the bottom fell out of the market. And if you want to hear the whole story, you probably can go and listen to the podcast that we have at Choose Difficult. There's a long interview with me. But essentially, during that time period, my partner and I had a real estate team that had $250,000 a month in expenses. I mean, we were the #1 team in the world. I mean, at the time, we were doing 550 transactions a year, which was unheard of back then. Today, it's like, whatever, you do 300, who cares? Everybody does that. We had $250,000 a month in expenses. We had just purchased a Keller Williams franchise. My husband and I, the 30-second version is in a matter of 60 days, I personally was in $486,000 in debt within 60 days. Like that's how fast the market shifted. And we were not, I think as business people, we were not responsible with our money. Personally, I wasn't responsible with our money. I grew up had kind of a tough childhood. My parents were drug addicts, and my mother has extreme mental health issues. And I moved out when I was 17. I had a baby when I was 19, and really just learned that, determination and work. And I think in an attempt to create a magical life for my family, my kids wanted four-wheelers, they got four-wheelers. We needed the 5,000 square foot house, we bought the 5,000 square foot house. We needed the best schools, the best cars. I was really, when I was younger, I still am, and driven to really create an amazing life. But I made decisions that put us in $500,000 in debt. And I won't bore you with the entire story, but essentially we lost everything. We lost our home, we lost cars, we lost everything. The only thing I didn't lose, thank God, was my family. And I hired a coach, and we spent 2 years plugging away at that debt. And I paid off $486,000 in debt in 22 months. And it was a brutally, brutally suffocating, like, even talking about it, it lives right here and will just instantly reduce me to tears, because it was a really, really hard 3-year period. And then after that, I thought, oh, good. Okay. We got all this worked out. We got everything paid off. We're good. Went and bought a home because we had done a short sale. So we had to wait the 2 years. We had to rent 2 years. We bought a home, and the month we moved in, I got a letter from the IRS that they were auditing us. And not only were they auditing us, but they were accusing us of fraud, essentially because we went from making 7 figures to making nothing. And they thought we were hiding money. And so I had to hire an attorney. I had and an accounting team, $10,000 a month in legal bills for 22 months. They froze all of our assets. They emptied my bank accounts. They put credit holds on us. So the good news is, the end of the story is, they found nothing. We weren't fraudulent. We were just realtors not making any money anymore. and what year is this, Tony?
2023.
8 years ago, that audit ended. So imagine 2 years, the market's falling apart. I have to pay off $500,000 in debt in the worst economy like ever. And then we get frozen for 2 more years. Can't do anything, can't buy anything. So for this like 5 to 6 year period was really, really, really hard. And I would say, Tony, that part of it was the hardest part, disappointing my family. Just everything about it was hard. And yet the lesson and the takeaway as I reflect, number one, at the end of that 8-year period, what I realized was all of those things that happened, the audit and the losing the house and just everything that happened for me and not to me. And it was really to make me, it was a forceful way to make me become the person that I was supposed to be. And really face the reality of, I can't change anything. I can't change the market. I can't change anything other than the people I surround myself and how I show up in my own world for the people that rely on me. And I worked really hard during that period of time on myself and being the best version of me that I could be. And fast forward 8 years, my husband and I we do net worth statements with our company every month and with our coaches. We are now 12 times more wealthy than we were the day we realized we were $500,000 in debt. So, and we had acquired some wealth. I had to sell some of that and that kind of thing, but we've done it the right way. And today we just live our best lives, and I do the best I can to be really open and transparent about all of that, because that can happen to all agents. We don't pay our taxes. We live check to check, all of that stuff. So yeah. So all of it was hard, Tony. And the good was, I really feel like I've earned the right to have the life that we have now. We've earned that. Yeah.
And one thing I heard you say that I think is super, super important, and I hope everybody caught that, was when all of these things happened, they didn't happen to you. That's a victim mentality.
Yeah.
It happened for you. And you were able to take those and learn and grow from that. And that's just a complete pivot. Because if you went the other way, you and I wouldn't be talking today.
Oh yeah. Well, and don't get it wrong. During that time, I mean, when I got hit with the audit letter and I was like, oh, okay, we're being audited. And my accountant was like, you need an attorney. I was like, I mean, I definitely had victim moments,
Sure.
but that's when I really just said, okay, I can't control this. Like, I don't know why this is happening. So I'm just going to put one foot in front of the other, do the best I can, be the best version of me that I can, be the best leader I can, pour into my growth, pour into people around me. And I'm just going to trust that it works out, because I didn't do anything wrong in any of this other than I made bad decisions. And I think, Tony, the other thing that I learned too, I mentioned that I had a partner when we had $250,000 a month in recurring bills for our real estate team. My partner did not lose everything. And one of the lessons that I took away from that is nobody that is in my world, not at my real estate team, not at Business Maps, not at the Millionaire Business Network, nobody in my world will lose everything at my expense. I will not be wealthy and not provide them the opportunity to learn, to track, to make better decisions, to read, to become educated. If that happens to someone in my world, that is because of their choice, not because I think as a leader, we're responsible for taking care of the people around us. Now, that doesn't mean that we make their decisions for them, but I'm 48 years old, I think. I just had a birthday. I might be 49. But imagine, like, in my 30s, this was happening to me, so I think it's really important as leaders that we make sure to look at the people around us. And when we have failures, say we had a failure, share
Yeah.
our fail forwards. We do that at Business Maps, right? We start our
Oh
meeting.
yeah.
Who had a fail forward? Thank you, Ken, for the birthday wish. Yeah, like, it's important to admit it, own it, move on, and learn from it, and just keep moving. The failures are going to happen. Gary always tells us, we were in a meeting with him a couple of weeks ago talking about Millionaire Business Network, and he said, hurry up. We're like, huh? He goes, hurry up, fail faster. Fail faster. You guys have to fail faster.
Interesting.
Yeah, like, that's where success comes from, is in those failures. I didn't learn a thing by buying my kids filet mignon and ATVs. I certainly learned a thing by having a car repossessed in my driveway with my kid's backpack in the back seat and all their homework.
Mm,
I learned something from that. So, yeah.
wow. That's really, really interesting. So you mentioned having meetings with Gary.
Yeah.
I know that because you're in the top 100, you get access to Gary through that, and you're also his business partner with
Yeah.
MBN. So
Yes.
you have a lot of exposure to Gary Keller that most people don't get. What's
Yeah.
that like?
You know what I would say is it's terrifying and exciting all at the same time. You should always be coached by somebody. We kind of see him as our coach. You should always be coached by somebody that terrifies you a little bit. Um, and he terrifies me a little bit. Every time I go in for a meeting, I'm like, oh, and I've been partners with him for 5 or 6 years now. So, and I've known him for a very, very long time. It's also really humbling, because I think one of the things that I have seen, I've been at Keller Williams now, I don't know, 15 years or something like that, 16, I don't even know how long. I'm a student of Gary. I'm a model follower. So I'm not one of those people. Melissa said, sorry, Tony, you don't.
So I coach her. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll work on that. I'll work on that.
Yeah, right. Just have me on every morning. I can terrify everybody for you,
There
Tony.
you go.
So, one of the things that I've noticed about him, and I don't think it's because we've developed a personal relationship, but one of the things that I've noticed from him in the last 15 years or so is Gary today, I think, is the perfect example of a leader who pours into himself and the people around him. He cares way more about the growth and the happiness and the success of the people around him than he does about money, than he does about success. Than he really, the way he shows up as a partner and a leader. And I don't know if you guys have noticed this when you're going to mega camp and family reunion, he's super relaxed. He's simply there to pour into people. And I think that's one of the things that, you know, even if I look back on that time period where I was literally losing everything and thought, I don't even know how to get out of this. What I did was I read the one thing actually, and I implemented that in my life in a very big way. And um, one of the things that that I think is that Gary is not just a thought leader, he's a practice leader.
Mm.
So exactly what you see from stage is how he is personally. You know, we don't send pictures of, I mean, yes, sometimes like we text each other pictures of like, oh, hey, look, we have a boot camp today or whatever. But usually it's my kids or his grandkids or my lake view, or we have a personal relationship. But I lost my grandmother last year, who was mostly like my mother. I told you I had a really crummy upbringing, but I had this amazing grandmother, and I lost her. And Gary was one of the very first people that reached out to me and spent a lot of time talking with me. And he's just, you know, I last year at, I don't even remember, family reunion, maybe, I had a breakout room that had, I don't know, 1,500 people. It was agents plus admin. I don't know if any of you guys were in there, but I had that breakout room for 8 hours. Like, it's one thing to have to get on stage, because I don't know about you guys, but when I signed up to be a realtor, I didn't sign up to get on stage. Like, that wasn't, I really just, I really just wanted to sell houses. And so I was facilitating this room for 8 hours. And I was like, why in the world would he ask me to do this? Number one, I hope what you guys see is I'm very real. I'm not polished. I am very real. What you see is what you get. And I was like, it's so weird that he's putting me up there. That morning, that day, two things happened. And this, I think, is a testament to who Gary is as a partner and a leader. He, number one, he sent me a text message that morning, and he said essentially, I'm so proud of you. Be who you are. That's why you're up there. And your job is to make sure that every person that gets on that stage looks smart, feels special, feels important. Never make them look, it was something like, never make them look like they don't know what they're talking about. Like, your job is to highlight them and make them feel special. And I thought, and I was so nervous, and I thought, that's why he is the best leader for this company, because what he really cared enough to do was, number one, say, I know you're nervous, you're the right who, and I put you there for a reason. And two, just make them look good. Like, he cared so much about the people that were going to come up there, and then showed up in my room with his security team an hour later just to check on me and see how it was going. That's what it's like to work with Gary. And I think the nuggets of wisdom, like here, this I won't show you everything, but this right here, these are my typed notes from our last meeting. Like, the nuggets that I get are pretty amazing, and I try to share them with you guys, right?
Yep. Oh yeah.
I share my notes in real time so you guys can see and share in the learning. So yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, which is very cool to see. When you're staring, you get a notification, and I'm looking at Charlotte, and I can see this typing going on. I know she's sitting in a room with Gary. It's like, holy crap. Okay, that's interesting. Now, I've never heard that particular story before, and I've heard a lot with you in the time that we get to spend together, which isn't a lot, but it's very, very enlightening when it is. One thing that I'm hearing here is, and I think Gary said this a lot, is he's a teacher.
Yeah.
Coach, and I think he's really has just leaned into that even more in the last 5 to 7 years. Would you say just that this is who I am, and this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to pour into people, and I'm going to bring everybody around me, as long as they're willing to do what they need to do. I'm going to do everything I can to bring them up.
That's exactly right. And I think that's a really valuable lesson for those of you on this call. Gary is loving and caring and expects results. You know, the accountability factor, now we're partners, so that's a little different, but in my world, the only reason that I can have multiple things, a charity, a team, a franchise, all these things, is because I hold a high level of standards and accountability for the people around me. There's no way my small team can sell 200 houses essentially without me if I didn't do 411s every week. If I didn't hold them accountable to the expectations that I have, and I didn't care enough about them to say, you committed to doing this, what happened? What got in the way? How do I need to support you? How can I show up? Where did you miss a time block? Accountability is a really big deal. And I think, especially when we go from a business like we had last year, I mean, most of us had pretty thriving businesses last year, and this year seems a little tough. Am I right? Like,
Yep.
it's tough. This business is hard this year. When business is good, we tend to loosen up the reins and not inspect what we expect so much. And right now we're like having to inspect what we should have inspected last year. Yep. And make changes. So having a bi-weekly call with Gary is enough. We go there for coaching, but we go there and we show up and we bring numbers and we bring all of our updates and we bring our details. That layer of accountability is really helpful for us. He doesn't demand it. He doesn't say, Charlotte, where are my numbers? He's like, all right, what do we have today? And he really just wants to get to the coaching, but he wants to see the numbers too. And I think for all of you on this call, that's the thing that I would say is, right now, if you are not inspecting what you expect every single week, you need to get that habit rebuilt, because it's critical to your business staying afloat.
Interesting you say that. I'm going to throw a quick plug in for productivity coaching today, 1:00. Tracking your business. Are you winning or are you losing? That's what we're talking about. So at 1:00 today, because it's so important for people to be making sure that they are inspecting what they are expecting. I love that. Absolutely. Yeah. So in this market, and it is shifting up here, we've got low inventory. We still have buyers are outstripping sellers.
Yeah.
But it's still shifting. What would you say would be a couple of key things that really need to focus on? And I think you probably already hit on a little bit, but what would you say would we focus on as we go through this shifting market?
I think you have to focus on your database. Stop looking for the shiny objects. Stop looking for the paid leads. Stop looking for the easy way. Remember that it is so much easier to do business with people that already like you and trust you than to try to convince somebody to work with you and like you and trust you. So I think one of the things that I think is super important, and Tony, maybe I'll come out to your market center when we get a boot camp going or something. I have a class that I teach that's how to build $1 million database and, like a $1 million business in a year. One of the things that you need to do is be super strategic about what are you doing every month to touch your database. Go to Staples, get a paper calendar, open it up. What am I going to do in September to touch my database? So the example for me would be, in September, we have the snow cone and school supplies. So that if you have one thing, whether it's a pop by, whether it's a client event, whether it's whatever the thing is you're going to do that month, a fall festival, a pumpkin pie giveaway, a Santa thing, you can partner with other people in your office too. But whatever the thing is, make that thing work for you. For everything you're doing, there should be social media, and it should be all the social media. It should be YouTube, it should be Facebook, it should be Instagram, it should be LinkedIn. Use text messaging, video texting. Hey, Tony, I hope I'm going to see you tonight for snow cones. If you can't make it, let me know. Be on the lookout. Or if, whatever it is, I'll bring you a coupon, or I'll bring you one, or I'll see you at the fall festival in a month. Video text messaging. Like, take the thing or the theme that you've got for that month and do all the things that you can do so that people know you're not just like mass texting. You're not like, we really do personalized messaging. Handwritten cards. I came home from a trip last week. I posted it on Facebook. There were 7 handwritten notes in my mailbox. And I was like, holy cow, this is amazing. And it reminded me how much people like handwritten notes. Write a handwritten note, write 5 a week. Yeah. So I think it's Get real clear on one thing a month. Stop trying to be the expert at everything. And by the way, here's a secret for you. If you don't like FSBOs, stop calling them. You don't want to call expireds? Don't do it. Pick the thing that you are really good at. I have people, one girl on my team crushes door knocking. Another girl, or well, a guy, he won't do it because he's afraid like somebody's going to think he's trying to like break into their house or something. But he's really, really, really good at video texting and YouTube. Great. Pick the thing you're really good at. Yeah, open houses. Pick the thing you're good at and be really, 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 really good at that. If open houses are your thing, great. Make sure you door knock 50 to 75 houses around that house every time. Make sure your signs are up Wednesday. Instead of doing 5 signs, do 30 signs. Like, be really good at the thing that you're at and stop trying to be good at like 20 different things. You don't need to be good at 20. You need to be good at like 2 or 3 max, and just get really good at that. And follow models. Don't be creative. Go figure out who's doing it the best it can be done, not what's the best I can do it. And just duplicate what they're doing so that you can do it the best that it can be done.
Yeah, it's there's a history there, there's a path there, and you don't have to reinvent it. You just have to maybe take it and tweak it a little bit to make it your own, but you just, yeah, exactly. And
then time block it. Time blocking.
Yes.
I am a time blocking machine. My kids,
yes, you are.
My college kids, my son, I came home last night or the day before, and he's like, Mom, can I get a time block tomorrow when you get home? I need to discuss this, this, and this. I mean, sure. Yes, absolutely.
I love that. Oh my God, that's good. So this is being recorded. I mean, only keep it internally, but now that you mentioned maybe coming to the market center, I may or may not be holding you to the to that.
Yeah, let's get a boot camp going or something in your market center. You're not far from me, so let's figure out how we can do that, and I'll teach something in the market center and figure it out.
That would be fantastic. Well, it is 9 o'clock. This has been fantastic. I really, really appreciate you coming on. And I can't thank you enough. Look forward to hopefully catching up with you soon. And again, thank you for your time, Charlotte.
You're welcome. I'm happy to come back if you guys want me. Just let me know.
Okay, absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Thank you,
All right.
Charlotte.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome.